What if I told you that one of the best multiplayer games ever made for the Sega Dreamcast never made it to stores? Not because it was bad, not because it flopped, but because of one of the most tragic days in modern history. This is the story of Propeller Arena Aviation Battle Championship. So, what exactly was Propeller Arena? Back in 2001, the Dreamcast is barely hanging on and Sega's already said they're leaving the console business. But a few stubborn developers refused to go quietly. They wanted one last big win for their beloved machine. Among them was Sega AM2, the same team behind classics like Virtua Fighter, Shenmue, and Outrun. These folks know how to make good games. What they cooked up was basically Unreal Tournament but with vintage planes dogfighting in the sky. Propeller Arena threw you into multiplayer aerial combat. The story is simple. It's the year 2045. 8 pilots and some wild characters battle it out in the Aviation Battle Championship. You're flying heavily modified vintage World War II era prop planes, blasting each other out of the sky and trying to rack up the most kills before the timer runs out. It's fast and chaotic, just the way you want it. It played like a deathmatch shooter. When you get shot down, no problem, respawn instantly and jump back in. You'd scoop up weapon drops from floating boxes, bombs, missiles, mines, and keep the carnage rolling. Originally, it was called Propeller Head Online, which honestly sounds more like a nerdy podcast than a game. Later, they switched to Propeller Arena, and it felt so much sleeker. And Yu Suzuki, the mastermind behind Virtua Fighter and Shenmue, produced the whole thing. That tells you these guys meant business. Now, let's get into how it actually feels to play, because honestly, this is where the game really shows off. The controls take their cues from proper flight sims, mapping inverted pitch to the Dreamcast analog stick. That's how pilots actually fly, and here it just works. Sure, things feel a bit sluggish at first, but that's by design. You're flying old school prop planes that have been patched and modded, not jets. The game doesn't shy away from throwing real flight quirks at you either. I've had engine stalls, blacked out from negative Gs, and plenty of moments where I nosedive straight into the ground. Yeah, it's every bit as cringy as you'd expect. But you know what makes it special? It's not trying to be some ultra-realistic sim, not even close. Sega's team tossed in a move system that borrows straight from fighting games. Crazy aerial tricks like loops, U-turns, and sudden speed boosts, all strung together with stick motions that'll feel familiar if you've ever thrown a fireball in Street Fighter. It sounds odd at first, but once your hands get used to it, it just clicks and it's brilliant. The arenas themselves are spectacular. You've got a dense city stage full of skyscrapers, a castle stage, and a desert with tight ravines where you're threading your plane through rocky corridors like some kind of low-budget Independence Day remake. And let's not forget the active volcano stage and Phantom Island, which tosses you into storms where lightning flashes and enemies lurk in pitch darkness. Oh, and 2 hidden stages you unlock by beating the game a few times. And don't let the AI fool you. Early races are breezy, but keep going and you'll find yourself clawing just to stay on the podium. The challenge ramps up quick, the game doesn't hold back, and that makes it so fun. One reviewer called it, and I'm paraphrasing here, the Power Stone of the skies. And honestly, yeah, that tracks completely. When we look at the graphics, this game looks polished. Planes look slick, the levels are packed with detail, everything runs smooth, no weird popping in and out. Honestly, this thing was ready for shelves. The pilot character designs at the character select screen are fine, a bit generic, nothing you're going to be showing off to your friends. But they fit the arcade energy. Think crazy taxi driver personalities transplanted into tiny cockpits. The soundtrack goes hard with that same amped up rock energy as Crazy Taxi. No Offspring, but you get the idea. It's perfect for those quick, hectic multiplayer rounds, but after an hour and it starts to drill itself into the back of your skull. The one weak spot, and this feels like something Sega would have fixed before release, is the options menu. It's this chaotic grid of floating blocks that you have to clumsily navigate around. It looks like a debug mode that someone forgot to redesign. It's not going to ruin your time, but you can tell it was still on the to-do list. Now, here's where we have to stop and talk about why you've probably never played this game. This game was all set to launch on September 19th, 2001. It was finished, ready to ship, just days from hitting shelves. Then, September 11th happened. 2 days after the attacks, Sega pulled the plug. No hesitation, no debate. And if you've seen the game, you know why. There's a stage with towering skyscrapers, planes weaving dangerously close to tall buildings. One promo screenshot even showed a plane packed with bombs hitting a high-rise. Sega's head of sales took one look at those images and made the call instantly. And honestly, you can't blame them. It was the right move. Whatever disappointment fans felt, it pales next to what the world experienced that day. Everything changed overnight. Suddenly, a game about planes attacking city buildings wasn't just inappropriate, it was unfathomable. And there was more to it. The Dreamcast was already struggling in the market, and Propeller Arena wasn't expected to sell much anyway. With both of those factors, it was an easy decision for Sega. They shelved it. The game just sat, collecting dust for years. But the story didn't end there. Propeller Arena eventually resurfaced. Someone leaked a prototype, and the Dreamcast community, the kind of passionate, slightly obsessed folks who've kept this console alive long after Sega gave up on it, snatched it up and kept it safe. Just recently, in March 2026, almost 25 years after its cancellation, Propeller Arena went online. For real. Thanks to the folks behind Flycast and DCNet, you can now play its network mode, make rooms for 2 to 6 players, and dogfight people across the internet. That's exactly what this game was meant for. Microphone support and leaderboards are still in the works, but they're on the way. And if you want to play today, it's surprisingly easy. If you've got a Dreamcast and a broadband adapter, just plug in a DNS and you're set. No subscriptions, no gatekeeping, just a community-driven revival for a game that lost its chance, finally getting a proper shot in the gaming history. The Sega AM2 team wanted this to be played with other people, online, with voice chat, on broadband, way back in 2001. Now, in 2026, that vision is real. Better late than never barely captures it. So where does Propeller Arena land for me? This game was genuinely ahead of its time. It's a multiplayer dogfight in the skies, made by one of Sega's best studios. The controls are tight, the stages are varied, there's real depth under the arcade action, and they dreamed up online play that was ambitious even for today, let alone in 2001. Single player is solid. Local split-screen multiplayer still holds up. Now with online finally working, this feels as complete as it ever will. Is it perfect? The menus needed polish, the pilot characters aren't memorable, and honestly, there's a heaviness to its backstory that never quite fades. But is it worth tracking down? Absolutely. If you care about Dreamcast, arcade games, or gaming history, you owe it to yourself to check this out. It never got the official release or its big moment, but thanks to the folks who wouldn't let it stay forgotten, it's finally found some light. Before you go, if this video got you curious about other lost Dreamcast treasures or games that almost made it, drop a comment. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more deep dives like this. This was Propeller Arena, the greatest game the Dreamcast never officially had. Thanks for watching.